All right, let's go into the forest. Before I even step into this beautiful place, I like to think about what I'm bringing in. When it comes to photography, I like limiting choice because it focuses creativity. So I'll often just bring in 2 lenses, one wide and a single telephoto lens. My first choice is a 70-200 2.8. The reason why I wanted 2.8 in this environment that we're in right now, you're photographing very dark animals in a dark environment. And because of this dark environment, you need as much light as possible. Photography means painting with light, and light is at a premium. So I like to set my cameras up to be in shutter priority and start with a 2.8 at about 200th of a second. And in shutter speed terms, it's still very slow. The next thing I'm thinking about are lots of photos. Literally, I want to take lots and lots of photos. If I walk away from 1 hour of shooting and I have 3 or 4 good images, I've won. It really is about the image quality and taking lots so I can delete lots so I'm left with my 3 or 4 that I want to choose afterwards. So the first thing we're going to do when we get in there is we're going to want to get tight on the face, and I'm looking specifically at trying to create a beautiful portrait of this gorilla and make sure that he really pops, that his facial features all come out, and that I have a shutter speed that's fast enough to capture that. So I'm going to get tight in. There's no problem with cutting off a bit of the top of the head and the bottom of the chin because we're really trying to focus people in on the facial features here. We're trying to get the eyes to really stand out because eyes are the window of the soul, and eyes are our point that we really want to focus on with all wildlife photography, barring some creative parts of this whole thing. So here I'm going to look at how best to frame this. Now, this gorilla is lying down on her side and she's having a rest. I'm waiting for a moment where she's going to look up and have the sky above catch her eye. So if the eye is flat and dead, it looks dead. If the eye has this little catch light or a little bit of light in it, it will give so much power to this image. And because she's lying down, I'm not going to shoot a portrait in portrait. I'm actually going to shoot it in the landscape side. And she's filling the frame from left to right beautifully. Now I'm waiting for those eyes. And once I have those eyes, I'm going to take a big burst. So I will take 10, 15 images to make sure I've got the spot. Then I'll lift my finger and I'll take another couple of images in order to make sure that my focus was right. Now we've got a different situation. We have a silverback gorilla that has moved in and he's moving along. And I want to capture his power. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to look for strong facial emotions. I want him to be looking in a direction. And I'm also going to use other foliage as a framework around him so I can focus the viewer to him. And then the direction which he's going to look in, I'm going to leave a bit of extra space that side, which is called positive space. For the viewer, once you find his eyes, you will flow along where he's looking to and start asking questions about what he's looking at. I'm shooting with a 70-200 because it gives me a little bit of flexibility to be able to zoom in or zoom out to get the right composition. I don't want to be too tight on him because I want to show him in his environment. When we're shooting a little bit wider, what this gives us is the opportunity to tell a story of where you are, what the situation looks like, rather than just the individual. So, gorilla's on the move. They're feeding and moving, and we're in quite close quarters to these guys. And I'm going to look at trying to capture a shot that accentuates the size of the animal, and perspective is everything when it comes to photography. If I'm shooting from top down onto something, I will make it look smaller. If I shoot bottom up on something, I'm going to make it look bigger, especially if I'm using a wide angle lens like I'm using now. So I have a 16 to 35mm 2.8 Sony on here, and this is going to give me a nice wide perspective. I'm going to open it wide up to 2.8, and I'm going to set my focal length to 16, as wide as possible. And as this gorilla comes up towards me, I'm going to drop my camera right down low, and I'm going to take bursts. And at this point, I'm really relying on a lot of autofocus. And as it's moving along, I'm just going to absolutely burst and follow, burst and follow, burst and follow, which allows me to capture multiple images. While this is an amazing, amazing opportunity to get really incredible photos of beautiful creatures, it's also a chance to spend time with them, to sit with them. And especially if nothing crazy is going on, you don't need 3,000 photographs of the same gorilla in the same position. Just put your camera down, be present, be part of the situation. It's awesome. Photography is not everything. Sometimes the best camera in the world is the one that sets the photos into your mind.